So in this video I'm going to quickly go over how to draw a little ghost. Now this is good because it shows a number of complex features within SOLIDWORKS. So we'll start by opening up a very simple part. We'll start a sketch on the top plane. Hit the space bar and look 90 degrees to it. Now I'm drawing a line to begin with, but I'm not drawing a regular line. I'm drawing this center line. And I want to start that center line a little bit above the origin and go a little bit below it, and another one a little bit to the left and to the right. Now you can put on your own dimensions, but I don't want those to move. They're going to be guidelines for me. So I'm going to click each point and hit the little fix icon. This point fixed, and the same with the other two as well. So when I have those done, in the same sketch I'm going to call up a spline command, and I'm going to mimic a shape that looks like this at the bottom of my ghost profile, but I'm going to make sure that all 4 vertices are picked up by the spline. Okay, and select. So when I'm happy with that, I can actually drag those points a little to make that look a little bit more smooth, and you can drag it as you see fit yourselves. So when you're happy with that, I'm going to approve that sketch. I'll just take a look at that. That looks good to me. That's going to be the base. I want another profile a little bit above it, so I'm going to need another plane on which to draw. So features, reference geometry, plane, and then select the top plane as the reference. So you can drag this up, or you can change it over here until it looks proportionally right. Now I'm not giving dimensions, but you just use your own dimensions. So I'll go about that. So once I have that plane directly above it, I'm going to start a sketch on it. Again, I'm going to look 90 degrees to it, and this time I'm going to draw the same 2 center lines, but make them a little smaller this time. And the same thing applies. I want to click each of the points and fix them just so they don't move on me. And once again I'll draw a spline. This time I'm not going to be as pronounced. I'm going to have it a little bit more subtle, but I'm going to try my best to roughly mimic the curvature of the outside one. It's not critical that you get it exactly the same, but just try your best to get it roughly the same as it. So again, if I press select, I can drag those a little just to make it a little smoother, and I'm happy with that. So when you're happy with it, you've got 2 profiles. I'm finished with this plane, so I'll click its edge and hit the glasses to hide it. Now I can loft between both of those. So go to features and a lofted boss base, and click a point here and a point there. So you can see it pulls the profile. It pulls a skin over the 2 profiles. Now at the top, the curvature of this skin, as we'll call it, just goes as a straight line from the bottom to the top. That's going to cause me trouble later. I want to dome this top to put the head on the ghost. And if I dome it right now, in fact I'll do it just to show you. Insert, features, dome, and select this. Even if I set all the settings correctly, I will not get a smooth transition from this edge into the dome. So what I will do, I'll actually delete that loft for now, just to show you. When I'm putting on the loft, I will make sure that because I selected this point first, this is my start, and this point second, this is my end. My start end constraints over here. My start constraint will be normal to profile. What that means is I can draw a line that actually shows what direction the curvature should end. So if I cancel this, cancel that, I want to start another sketch. I'll use a center line this time, and I'm going to draw it on the front plane. And you don't need to be too accurate with this, you just need it to be vertical. It doesn't matter how long it is, it's important that that's a vector, it's a direction. So now that I have a direction, if I go to features, lofted boss base, start here, end here, and before I approve it, if I activate start end constraints and set the start constraint to direction vector, now if I select this line, you can see what happens. The curvature starts at the bottom but will ultimately end in the vector or the direction of this. So now what you can do is hide that sketch, this little vector line, because we don't need that anymore, and now go to Insert, Features, Dome. And if I select this top surface, it will actually, sometimes it may not actually give you a dome, but if you hit continuous dome, deselect that, now it will give you a dome, a continuous dome. And you can see as I look around there, it will be perfectly tangential. It'll be a perfect transition from the new dome into the body. And of course you can change the height of that as you see fit. So I think that's okay. So when you have that, there is a little seam line there, but that's just to show that it's made from two features. So if you turn off the visible edges, that will disappear. And this is just a rough draft with no dimensions. You can make the two profiles, that profile and that profile, different shapes, and you'll get a wider or taller ghost shape, if you like. What we're going to have to do now is shell this, and if I shell this to say 2 millimeters, I'm likely to get an error like this. And that's fine, it's not necessarily an error, it's just warning you that it's not going to be a true shell. It will still shell, but it just cannot guarantee that all corners, for instance up here at the top, will remain with a wall thickness of 2 millimeters. So that's just a regular shell. Now just to cut out some eyes and a mouth, I suppose, we'll go to Features, Reference Geometry, Plane, and this time we'll select, say, the front plane, and we'll just select the plane there in front of it. And we'll draw on that, so I'm going to go to Sketch and a Spline and drawing on that. I tend not to be too accurate with these because I want them to look a little bit organic and curved. If you want, afterwards you can always just adjust them like that. Okay, that'll work for a mouth, and then for the eyes, just whatever shape you feel like. And one more the other side. And we'll just edit that ever so slightly. That'll be fine. So once you have those, you can go Features, Extruded Cut, and I'm going to select the sketch down here, and I'm going to actually cut those. Instead of blindly, I'm going to cut them up to surface. Let's see if I can select this plane, and I can. I'm actually going to extrude them up to the front plane. Now that I think about it, I probably could have drawn them on the front plane and extrude cut them out, but this is a different way of doing it. So once you do that, I'm going to hide this plane. I don't need that anymore. And now all that's left to do is apply some materials. Now you should really experiment with this yourself, but in order to get this render popped out correctly, well, first of all, you could go to Appearances, and you can set a fabric, which is there, fabric, and you can go to cloth, and you can put white cotton onto the entire body. And if you wanted a really good render, what I recommend doing is something like this, going to Reference Geometry and a plane, and actually adding in a plane underneath to represent the ground. That gives us the illusion that our little ghost is hovering. So if I go to Sketch, Rectangle, let's just draw in a really big floor, and we'll extrude that down a little to give it some depth, and we might as well draw on a little wall at the back as well. So we'll sketch a rectangle on this back plane, and you need not be too accurate for this. This is just to get the render, and we'll give that some depth as well. So now we actually have our ghost sitting in a scene. I'm just going to turn off that plane because I don't need it anymore. And in order to get a good render, you can experiment. So for instance, I will just put a nice reflective metal, say chrome, on the face there, and I don't know what's going to look good, but let's say if we go to paint, we'll get some car paint, we get nice metallic blue, say, for the back. So if I call up a render, a preview window, it's not really going to pop out that much because I haven't edited any lights. Just taking a moment there. See, it looks okay, but it's nothing really spectacular. So if I X that, if I hit this icon over here, the display manager, then hit this, the view scene lights and cameras, and I can press the plus beside the lights to expand it. And what I can do is I can actually turn off all of the lights in SolidWorks, or leave them on if you wish, and I can right click and add a point light. Now the point light happened to come in here. It's troublesome to drag that around. It's very hard to get it exactly where you want it. So how I move this point light around is using this triad as an orientation. So I want to move this red dot up the way. I can see this Y arrow is pointing up. So the Y direction over here, I'm going to jog that up. And now it's in the middle of the ghost. Now, as it happens now, I want to move it a little bit back to my right, which is the opposite of the Z direction. So I'll pull the Z direction down a little. So now that point light is in the center of the ghost. So if I now pull up the preview window, it should take a little bit longer to give me the preview with the light added. You can see it looks a little bit better. It seems not to have actually projected anything down. So if I go and inspect that, sure enough, I see the point light is actually off in photo view. So I need to right click it and go on in photo view. We'll try that one more time. Okay, at least the light now is shining from within and it's shining down here. So you could do a whole lot of experiments. You can experiment with the different lights. You can see in the background here this white general SolidWorks ambient light is turned on. You can turn those off here, right click off in SolidWorks, and the scene goes significantly darker. Or what you could also experiment with is right clicking the body, hitting the appearances and editing the appearances. And you could actually go to advanced, make sure advanced is ticked up here, and color image, or should I say illumination. And down here you can change the transparency of the ghost, so the light will actually shine through a lot more. So that's how you draw the body essentially, and after that it's just a bit of experimentation.